Good morning, students. It is pretty early in the morning, and you are the first person or people that I'm talking to other than my cat. The purpose of my presentation today is to talk a little bit about the AIR end-of-course writing assessment that takes place pretty much at the end of each ELA completion or course. So when I taught ninth grade, I was really interested in learning more about the AIR EOC and the computer software that is used to grade students. And so I have some help and hacks and just some information about the AIR EOC that might make you feel better prepared as we head into the second semester to face down the monster that I feel sometimes is that AIR EOC as well. So one of the things that I want to let you know, first of all, is that Ohio and Hawaii, at least as of last year, are the only two states in the country that use computer software to score students. And there's been some articles and some blogs published about different people using the software. So when I use the word hack, I just feel like we are not getting graded by human graders, which I think is more fair sometimes than using software. So really just trying to understanding that software and different things we can do when it looks to kind of automatically score. So that's the truth of the matter, is that we use computer scoring. Now the computer scoring is pretty consistent when compared with teacher scoring. So there is some evidence that says that a computer can kind of predict and score almost as well as a human being. But the problem that I have is that a human can understand and comprehend in ways that a computer cannot. So here's some three things I think you should know going into your AIR EOC. One of them is that structure is really important as far as a computer looking at how you break down your work into sections and paragraphs. That one big block of text is not going to be the kind of structure that's going to show movement or progression or things coming together in a logical order as well. And I don't want you to think that this computer software isn't smart or isn't savvy, because there's definitely advanced algorithms where it can grade your grammar, it can look for your transitions, it can look for what you plagiarized, how much work you used from the original author. So I mean, it is capable of analyzing a lot about your writing. It's pretty advanced software. So the second thing I want to say has some sort of danger behind it, and it's content. I really feel that if we're looking, and for my students or for any students to raise their AIR EOC scores, really a lot of it is a matter of taking the time to produce more content. Now, the AIR test is a time test, so I would anticipate that most students would have around an hour, maybe a little less if they were a slow reader, and that time is not really being utilized where it's expected that every single second of that time you are using it to write and to expand. That if you look at the samples that I'm going to show you, really the amount of content is going to drive a lot of that development score. And another danger of content, which I'm already seeing as I'm looking at some of the 7th grade writing, is that there has to be a balance and a ratio that is appropriate for how many words you use in your writing that are word for word from the article. So you can get a 0, just an invalid score, and it's happened. We've looked at the data for our 7th grade students from last year. And if you write just a couple of paragraphs and then you include in a bunch of quotes or a lot of lines or phrases that are from the author directly, and you don't have a balance of your own writing to balance it out, then it kind of calculates it as you not having enough of your own writing to produce a score. And that means that whatever writing you did do, because it was so muddled down with just completely cutting and pasting from the author itself, that you just got a 0. Another thing that comes up, I don't want to confuse you with like plagiarism. So plagiarism is when you use information from an author that's word for word, or sometimes, well, start there, word for word, and then you don't cite it, put quotes around it, and you don't give the author credit. There are, however, some words that might show up in an article like "is lying bad for you," like lying, gunderman, mental, physical, some key words that come out, because if you look at any kind of article that you have to write about, typically the software is searching for things that are within the main ideas keywords that are related to the main ideas and restatement of those main ideas, because that's how it's going to be able to tell that you're writing about the right article or that you're picking up on the points that are most supportive through those key phrases, synonyms of the keywords within the article itself. So those are the 3 things I think you should know. This is an AIR rubric that I made where I tried to break down what the requirements were for the state of Ohio into a gradable form, even though this isn't necessarily exactly how the software would grade it, because human beings are not computers. So if we look at what you really need in each of these areas, you'll see here there's points, focus, and organization, evidence and elaboration, and then your grammar, conventions, and spelling as 2 points as well. So if I go through these, each of these is worth a half of a point to score you. And the scoring would be very rigorous, where it would be pretty much like the samples that you're going to look at as far as what's an 8, what's a 9, what's a 7, what's a 6. So even though you may have an introduction, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's long enough, that it has enough keywords, that it uses enough transitions or sentence structure to kind of be satisfying. And it always grades harder, where if you're almost there, that's 0, as opposed to saying you're almost there, let's round up, let's go ahead and give you the check. So it is a little bit more rigorous than any kind of classroom grading that you probably are used to as well. I have copies of these for you, by the way. So this is a literature lead-in. And I actually am going to stop the first video, and then this will be part 2.